Welcome back to Stories Behind the Walls. I'm your host, Annabelle, with Voices for Justice Incorporated. We are a nonprofit organization based in Delaware, advocating for civil rights, human rights, and justice system reform. We stand up for those whose voices have been silenced, and we demand accountability, transparency, and change. On this episode, we're going to dedicate it to understanding the legal process in detail, a subject that so many people have asked us about in our live call-ins and our messages. We know the system can feel impossible to navigate, deliberately confusing, and often uncaring. But at Voices for Justice, our mission is to make sure you have the knowledge and tools to protect yourself and support your loved one. Why we need to talk about the legal process. Now, grab a notebook and a pen because you're going to need to take some notes. We are going to go through the legal process step by step. We're going to talk about why this matters. If you have ever tried to help yourself or a family member in trouble, you know the system seems stacked against you. It uses specialized language, confusing paperwork, rigid deadlines, and unspoken rules that leave people feeling powerless. And folks, this is no accident. It's designed to create barriers for the poor, the unrepresented. That's why knowing your rights and the steps in the process is essential. It's the difference between getting lost in the system and fighting back. This is why we offer free legal awareness workshops, live community call-ins, complaint support, and attorney referrals, because justice should be accessible for everyone and not just for those who can afford it. So the first thing we're going to discuss is the arrest and booking process. We're going to start at the very beginning with this. When someone is suspected of a crime, it usually starts with an arrest. Police need probable cause, a reasonable belief that a crime has occurred. But let me be very clear, probable cause is a low standard. It doesn't mean proof beyond a reasonable doubt. Police can arrest someone based on a witness statement, circumstantial evidence, or even mistaken identity. After arrest comes booking. This part includes fingerprinting, photographing, recording personal information, and then placing the person in a holding cell. This is often when family members first hear of what is going on. If your loved one is arrested, make sure to ask where they're being held and for what charges. And if possible, get a booking number. So let's move on to first appearance and bail. Within 24 to 48 hours, the person usually gets a first appearance. They hear the charges and learn about bail or bond. Bail is supposed to ensure someone returns to court, but we know the truth. Cash bail systems criminalize poverty. People with money pay and go home. People without money sit in jail. This is why bail reform is such a huge topic nationally. Some jurisdictions use risk assessments to decide bail, but even these can be biased. If your loved one is arrested, find out the bail amount. Ask about bail bonds or other options. Know that some non-violent charges might allow release on recognizance, which is no money, just a promise to return. After that, we move into the preliminary hearings and grand juries. Preliminary hearings are like mini trials. A judge decides if there's enough evidence to continue. Grand juries are secret. Jurors hear the prosecutor's side only. Defendants usually don't testify. These stages are supposed to ensure due process. But again, let's be honest, they're heavily weighed in favor of the state. It's rare for cases to get dismissed here. That's why legal representation is so important early on. After this is the arraignment. This is when the charges are formally read. The defendant enters a plea, usually guilty or not guilty. Many people plead not guilty here to buy time and to review evidence. It's a critical moment because it sets the stage for discovery, which is sharing evidence, pretrial motions, which is challenging evidence or procedures, and then plea bargaining discussion. After that, you have pretrial motions and discovery. This is where cases are often won or lost before trial ever happens. Pretrial motions can suppress illegally obtained evidence, challenge witness credibility, and then demand additional disclosures from the prosecution. But again, here's the hard truth: public defenders are often overworked and underfunded. People with money can pay for private investigators and expert witnesses. That is part of the inequality of our system. This stage is also when discovery happens. Prosecutors must share evidence, but sometimes they withhold it, known as Brady violations. That's why knowing your rights and having a good lawyer is so important here. After this comes the plea bargaining. So let's talk plea deals. More than 90% of cases end in plea bargains, not trials. Why? It's faster for courts, it is less risk for prosecutors, and it's a less severe punishment for defendants. But also, pressure, fear. People plead guilty to crimes they didn't commit because they're scared of longer sentences. They want to go home to their families. We see this especially in underprivileged communities. That's why it's essential to understand your rights, get everything in writing. And now we're going to move on to the trial. If a plea deal isn't reached, the case then goes to trial. Trials can be jury trials decided by peers or bench trials decided by a judge. Trials involve jury selection, opening statements, witness testimony, cross examination, closing arguments, and then verdicts, meaning the defense and prosecution battle it out. But trials aren't always fair. Jury pools can be unrepresentative, witnesses can be intimidated or unreliable, judges can show bias. Again, this is why knowing your rights and having good legal counsel matters so much. After this comes the sentencing. If convicted, the defendant moves to sentencing. Judges often follow sentencing guidelines or mandatory minimums. Factors that affect sentencing include criminal history, the severity of the crime, victim impact statements, and mitigation circumstances, which is mental health background. This is a critical stage to present mitigation evidence and argue for fairness. If someone states reforms allow sentence modifications or reviews, especially for youth or rehabilitated individuals, in some states, this is allowed. After that is going to come the appeal. After sentencing, people can appeal. Appeals aren't new trials, they review legal errors. They can take months or years, and there are strict deadlines that apply to this. Common appeal grounds is ineffective counsel, improper jury instructions, new evidence, but appeals are hard to win and they are very expensive. That's why advocacy groups like ours help connect people to experienced attorneys when we can. And then here is the next section: rights during incarceration. Even after conviction, people don't lose their rights. The Eighth Amendment protects against cruel and unusual punishment. Prisoners have the right to medical care, they have the right to practice religion, and they have the right to access court and legal resources. When these rights are violated through abuse, neglect, unsafe conditions, or deliberate indifference, people can file grievances or even federal civil rights lawsuit under Section 1983. We help families understand how to file complaints and follow up because accountability doesn't stop at the prison door. After you've done your sentence comes reentry and parole. This is last but not least. Release doesn't mean freedom from the system, and parole, probation, depending on your state, means strict conditions. Violations can send people back. Reentry challenges include finding housing, securing employment, accessing health care, managing supervision requirements. That's why our workshops cover state reentry laws, rights during parole, and community resources. We want to help people come home and stay home. Here at Voices for Justice, we don't just talk. We offer free legal awareness workshops like this one. We host live community call-ins so families can ask questions in real time. We amplify stories to highlight abuse, wrongful convictions, and systematic failures. We help people file complaints to demand accountability. We connect families to top ethical attorneys who will actually fight for them because they may try to silence you, but they will not silence us together. If you learned something today, please share this episode with someone who needs it. Knowledge is power. The more we share it, the stronger we are. For more resources or to attend a free workshop, join a live call-in, or get help finding the right attorney, visit our website at www.voicesforjusticeinc.net, or you can send us an email. We will have it in the description below. Thank you for joining me on Stories Behind the Walls. Stay safe, stay aware, and stay strong.